This box has come all the way from Canada, and in it is a real handmade boot. Handmade in every way. G'day, welcome back to my channel Bootlosophy, a channel about heritage boots. My name is Tech if we haven't met before. I'm here in Perth in Western Australia, Wajak country, Kaleko Wajak Nungabuja. So this box has arrived from Canada, from Uncle Dan's Boots. I've been following Uncle Dan's Boots for a while on Instagram, and we've communicated back and forth. So let me just tell you a little bit about Uncle Dan's Boots before I open this box. So let me read to you this little bit that Daniel sent to me on Instagram. My name is Daniel Malaise. I'm hoping I pronounced that right. I don't speak French. Mallais. I'm a grade 5 teacher and have worked in the education system for more than 20 years. I'm proudly Francophone and Acadian, living in the town of Riverview in the province of New Brunswick, Canada. No, I'm not Quebecois. A lifelong chess player and a former ultra cyclist. He's actually very fit, even in some of his videos on the YouTube channel, Uncle Dan's Boots. You'll see him exercising his rotator cuff and stuff like that. Oddly enough, I see many similarities between boot making, competitive chess, and endurance cycling, especially chess. Before making boots, I have never worked with leather and wasn't involved in hands-on trades. Yet over the last 2 years, I have built 70 plus pairs of boots, almost entirely by hand, using only one power tool, a sander. For me, boot making is more like making a big art project where every pair tells a story. And I have been following him in those last 2 years and seen his first boots and his most recent. He tells me about construction methods. The Petit-Gotiac boots are built using stitch-down construction, so we'll go into that when I open the box. I also use traditional wood pegs through the heel and arch area for added strength. Until recently, every stitch on every pair of boots was sewn entirely by hand. I have recently added a post-bed sewing machine to my workshop. To be honest, it almost feels like cheating after years of hand sewing. It is incredibly fast. While I will always continue to offer fully hand-sewn boots on request, I am now incorporating machine stitching for some upper construction work. This allows me to increase production while maintaining the same attention to detail and commitment to quality. And these are still in handmade. There are videos of him making these boots for me, and he uses a saddle stitch method, which I'll tell you about. There's some contact information here, so I'll repeat this either across the screen, and I'll definitely add it down in the description area below. The best way to follow my work or get in touch is through Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook under Daniel Malaise, Mallais. Website is uncledansboots.ca/contact, and I'll put that down below. So let's get into opening these boots. But what I'm going to do is this is going to be a truncated opening, because this is going to be an opening and a review. Because what happened was Dan wrote to me and said, look, I've got a pair of boots I'll make for you. And I said, look, I don't actually want to buy a pair of boots. He said, no, I'll send them to you for your review, and if you can send them back. So I said, that's fine. And I'll pay for the postage from Canada, and then I'll send them back at my own cost so you can sell these on. I'll tell you about it as well a bit later, but the postage cost was $155 to get here. That's nearly $200 Australian. And it's going to cost about the same to get it back. So about 400 Australian dollars. I'm actually considering hanging on to these boots. I'll find out how much they are, and I might hang on to them. We'll see. So what I'm going to do in this video, we'll do the unboxing, but a truncated one, because I won't go through a full review during the unboxing. And what I'll do is I'll then put them on foot, see how they feel, being very careful not to crease them if I send them back. And then what I'll do is I'll sit here and we'll do a proper review with the camera on this as a one-off video. So let's go with the unboxing. Here we go. Trying to keep the box as clean as possible in case I have to send it back. Try not to damage the cardboard. Here we go. Oh my goodness. It actually comes in a timber box. That is incredible. Let me just take that out. Bit of a struggle. Wow, that is sensational. Oops, a little bit broke off. That's my fault. Entirely my fault. I shall glue it back appropriately. Let me just leave that out for a minute. Look at that. It's a box made of quite light timber with the leather Uncle Dan's boots sewn on. Now, I don't know whether Daniel makes this box, but it's quite amazing. All right, so that's just amazing. I'm blown away by that, and I will fix that. Let's open this up. Look, it's got brass hinges. Oh, look at that. It's got a little sign there. I don't know how to pronounce this. Petit boots, rooted in the river, built to last. To the owner of these boots, long before roads crossed this land, the river carried stories. The Petit boots took their name from the ancient Mi'kmaq word connected to the Petitcodiac River, a river that shaped the spirit of this region for generations. Its tides are among the strongest in the world, constantly moving, changing, and returning. These boots were created to honor that same spirit. The leather will darken, the sole will shape to your stride, the creases and scars will become part of their story. Handmade in New Brunswick, Canada by Uncle Dan's Boots. And here they are. Let me remove them. Oh. I said I'd been following Daniel since his early days, and he literally hand makes by hand these boots. Like every stitch is by hand. He uses a saddle stitching method, which is one thread, two needles, and they crisscross on the same hole. And you can see how clean and neat this is, done entirely by hand. He uses a knife or a pair of shears, depending on the pattern, to cut the leather. He hand stamps the hardware. It's a stitch down construction. You can just see the uppers being turned out. There's a lovely midsole, rubber sole. I'm guessing that's a Canadian brand, Andes. Look, I'll have to tell you, just holding this in my hand, the quality of construction compared to what I've seen on Instagram of his boots in the early years has gone up 1000%. This is really beautifully made. Take a look at the second one. Yeah, this leather, I don't know what it is, but it's got a little bit of pull up. Beautiful, clean leather. It's a nice shape, nice rounded toe box. A lovely curve to that heel cup. My understanding is he uses a leather heel counter and a leather toe puff. So everything in here is leather. And once I open it up, we can take a look. There's a leather insole, as well as the leather lasting board, which is the midsole. This is just superb. Also in this box, a card wallet. How wonderful is this? Obviously also hand sewn. This is incredible. Uncle Dan's Boots. Tech, thank you for taking the time to review my work. Every stitch was done by hand in New Brunswick, Canada. Each pair I make are heart craft. I love that word. And I hope you enjoy reviewing them as much as I enjoyed making them. Daniel from Uncle Dan's Boots. That is just gorgeous. Okay, that took my breath away. I'm going to put them on. We'll try them on without creasing them as much as I can. And then we'll sit down and have a look at them in detail. Here we go. Always the moment of truth. And like all handmade boots, you kind of have to hope that the sizes you sent were right and he got the pattern right and everything. But they definitely slipped in, didn't they? Fits nicely. Let's tighten up the laces. It's a nice, generous last. It's quite wide, very wide, fits me really nicely. There's a good thumb's width up front, which is what you want. On my right foot, which I'm lacing at the moment, there is no issue of tightness in the ball of the foot. The heel is probably just a touch generous. It doesn't cut my heel as some of the combination lasts do. And I'm wearing reasonably thick socks, although I do have thicker socks than these for boots, which probably to fit that back part I do need. Tie the other one up. They're ungusseted tongues, but very, very generous wide tongues. The laces provided are a nice quality wax cotton lace. So they look good, feel good. It feels really good tying it up. Yeah, this is lovely. I mean, to be honest, I need another pair of boots like I need a hole in the head. But, you know, these are so well made. I have to say they're not the best fitting from here backwards, because I think I have skinny heels and skinny ankles. And I think these are a bit generous for me. From here forwards, it's a really good, comfortable fit. And as I was saying, I need another pair of boots like I need a hole in the head. But these are so beautifully made, by hand, lovingly crafted. And it costs, you know, by the time I send them back, it'll have cost me a good $400 or $500 Australian dollars. I might as well talk to Dan about keeping these boots and buying them from him, I think. I mean, they're service boot-like, so I can wear them around for casual events and things. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. Dan said that he would do me a deal and knock off the postage price from Canada off the price, which I'll tell you about as we wrap up. But I need to think about it. I'll need to think about it. And if I do keep them, then what I'll do is I won't bring you a full review, because at the end of this video, I'll be doing a proper review. And if I keep them, I'll just wear them for a year and bring them back in a year's time for a long-term review. It's a good feel. And I guess once this part of the boot breaks in, I may not find that my heel is so generous, or so skinny in this generous last. And maybe this will close up a little bit more. But you know, what the hell? Every bit of this is handmade. Okay, let's do a sit down and do a review of these boots. Okay, so let's go through these boots in some detail. Firstly, let me reiterate, this is 100% handmade. So what Dan does is he cuts the patterns using a pair of shears or a knife, and it's a fairly simple pattern. It's a plain toe boot with one vamp piece there. It is, I'm wrong. It's one plain toe boot with a vamp, and that piece comes up into the tongue as well. So this all is one piece. And then he has a quarter piece there and a quarter piece there with a single piece backstay. So it's a reasonably simple pattern. But the interesting thing is often bootmakers will have a vamp piece and they connect the tongue. But this one is all in one. He has also fully lined these boots. Yep, as you can see, it's fully lined, even in the shaft. I think is there a different, no, it's just a different piece of lining across there and then more lining attached. So all in all, I'll measure it in a minute, but it's a fairly thick sort of leather. It has a waxy hand to it, so it's not a particularly oily leather, but as you can see, it's full grain. It has a slight pull up, and you can actually see the grain in all of this. Let me just hold it up. So you can see the grain, I'm hoping. Turn it around there, right through there. The edges, it's a derby boot style. The edges of the boots are just cut leather so that they're not rolled or French bound or whatever, but it's very nicely cut. The pattern cuts are really nice. I'm not 100% sure whether Daniel skives the edges of the leather, but they feel like they're not as thick down there as they are up here. So I'm guessing he does skive them a little bit to thin them so that when he stitches, they don't have this really chunky two-layered approach. I'm looking at the leather initially, and it's a really nice, well presented, well cut leather. I'm not entirely sure where it's from. And then what he does once he's cut the patterns is he hand stitches the top of the boot together. So with the lining glued on, I suppose, he then starts to stitch all of these stitches that you see, and all of these stitches down here in the quarters with the reinforcing box stitch there on two sides. And he uses a saddle stitch method, which means he's got one long piece of wax thread, a needle on either end of it. He puts it through one hole on this side, pulls it out. That second needle goes through that same hole, and you just go in and out, in and out. It's a very strong method of stitching leather, saddle stitching, but it does mean you're going to have to, when you get to the end of it, pull. Because if it doesn't, and you haven't put enough pressure on each individual stitch, then in time, some of that stitching would sort of come apart a little bit and not hold as well, and might even catch on things as you scrape past them. So the saddle stitching method is very strong, but each time you pass through, you're really going to have to pull it to make it tight. That's each and every stitch, because you can imagine if one stitch was a little bit loose, there'd be a loop, and that could catch on anything, a bit like wool jumpers. Having done that, he will last the boot. So I don't know whether he's bought a last or he carved himself a last, but he's lasted the boot, and then he does a stitch down stitch, which means he lasts it and then flares the bottom out, and he stitches the uppers down onto this leather midsole. Inside, let's see if you can see that, there is a leather footbed, and it's an interesting, multi-carved, I don't know if you can see that, but multi sort of sanded leather on the footbed. And then under that footbed is this midsole. I don't know if there's a cork layer. It doesn't feel like it, and most stitch down boots will not have a cork layer. It doesn't feel like it. And that midsole then sits onto the rubber outsole. The stitching from the edge stitching on the stitch down design does not go through to the rubber. So I guess that's just glued on, which kind of makes it easy, because your cobbler, when you need to resole this, simply rips the rubber off without damaging any of the stitching, and then just glue another piece of rubber on. As he said in his note to me, he does use wooden pegs along here, and I think under the heel, as an extra protection, because those wooden pegs go in and then they expand a little bit and sort of keep everything on. I can see one thin and one thick leather lifts in the heel stack, and then the thick rubber top lift. It's quite a low profile boot. So in that sense, 6 inches, quite plain service boot design, low profile, and a low stacked heel. All in all, a really plain and simple, but such a good looking, harking back to an old boot, I think. The tongue, as I said during the on feet portion, is not it's not gusseted, so you have to be a bit careful, I suppose, in water exposure. But I'm going to do a video about how boots are waterproof or not, so keep an eye out for that, whether or not this sort of thing makes a difference. I am truly impressed. I'm truly blown away. The rubber is, it says Andes. I've never heard of that brand, but it's obviously a studded rubber. It feels soft and I don't mean soft as in squidgy, but soft as in good for shock absorption. I did say in the fit section that my heel was felt a little bit loose in there. We shall see what happens when the shaft breaks in if I keep it. If I don't keep it, then I'm never going to know what the break-in does to fit. He obviously then punches the holes and puts the brass eyelets through. And they're nicely back, look. You know, they're not just on a punch machine, they're sort of like a double-sided rivet. I'm just blown for words. I'm lost for words. I'm blown away. Really nice. I have seen, now I have to be honest, Dan's been in touch with me on and off in the last couple of years. And early on he said, I'd really like to make a boot for you. And I said, look, I don't think I can afford a fully handmade product. And he said, I'll make one for you. I said, no, I don't think that's fair. I don't want to do that for a small person about to start. But I have to be honest, when I saw those initial Instagram photos, I thought they were a bit rustic, all right? I don't think the stitching was regular, consistent, clean. But take a look at that stitching today. I mean, take a look at that stitching. It is clean. You would have thought this came out of a machine, and I assure you this did not. You can see the odd waver, but that's the handmade boot, right? I mean, we are so funny, you know, as boot collectors. We like a handmade boot. We celebrate this as a handmade boot. And then we look at a slight wave in the stitching and go, oh, that's not accurate, is it? But that's a handmade boot. In this case, 100% handmade. Yeah, I'm in a quandary. I don't know whether to keep this boot or not, because it'll cost me about, I think, 500 odd Canadian dollars. But let me tell you about the price and value of these boots. So I have my notes here. They're usually handmade, and as you heard me read out, he's now starting to machine stitch some of these, so I guess they might be a bit cheaper. But it's about $700 Canadian. And what I'll do is I'll put some aspects of his videos making these boots in and around the whole video. I should have said that at the beginning, but you'll have seen them by now. So they're around 500 USD, around $706 Australian dollars. But the postage to Australia from the Canada is 155 Canadian. That's nearly 200 Australian. So going to and fro from me to him is going to end up being about 300 Australian dollars. He's made a deal with me that he'll sell them to me for, I think it was about 500 and something Canadian dollars, because he's taken off the postage to Australia. And you know, other than paying another $150, $200 to send them back to Canada Express Post, I might just buy them. We'll see. We'll see. So I hope you like this. His contact details are down below. Instagram is how you get hold of him anyway, Uncle Dan's Boots. He's also got a channel on YouTube called Uncle Dan's Boots. Go watch that. It is a bit quirky. It is a bit erratic, but it's very much the man, I think. It's given me a flavor of what he's like as a man. So well done, Dan. I'm telling you right now, Dan, I am blown away by the quality of this pair. So let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Alright guys, I hope you like this video. If you do, click on like. Make me some comments about how you think this looks. I mean, one last look at those beautiful, beautiful stitching. And honestly, what great leather. Handmade. Handmade for 700 Canadian or so, depending on the leathers, I suppose. Handmade. Beautiful. Click on like. Click on subscribe. Come back next week. You take care out there. Crazy world. See you soon.